What is going on, everybody? And in this video, we are giving a state of the market and stock picks for July 29th, 2022. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, consider subscribing as we do provide daily and weekly updates to get you prepared for the day and the week ahead in this phenomenally bullish market that we are currently in. Is there a recession? Technical wise, potentially, but not really, because we're not going to see a recession. But technically, we might have. It really depends on how you define it. But with the sarcasm out of the way, let's get straight into uh, the state of the market. This is what's going on. We have, I guess you could say, officially entered a recession if you go by GDP. We were down, although we beat expectations because our expectations were so extremely low that, when you aim for rock bottom and you hit anything better than that, it's good. But we're still lower than previous GDP, which is not good. A lot of things are taking a major hit. Apple and Amazon. Amazon's absolutely crushing earnings. They're one of the few that is just absolutely blown it out of the water. Where you're continuing to see other revenue or ad revenue based companies getting destroyed. A lot of chip players getting destroyed. But that doesn't matter. The market is just pushing up. This obviously, whenever the market's never going to make sense, period. The market is not the economy, something I keep reiterating. But there's a bigger cloud of concern currently going on. Now, I'm not trying to get pegged or feel that it is in one direction only, right? To be a good trader, you have to be able to adjust on the fly, whether it makes sense or not. Currently, right now, it's not making any sense. Everything is absolutely horribly bad in the environment, and it's going to get extremely bad in Q3, in my opinion. But with that being said, whether you want to say we're in a recession or not, I think everybody kind of agrees that we are anyway. It doesn't really matter what your government is feeding you, that we are not in a recession. We are escaping. We got growth. We got massive amount of jobs, yet there's been a great resignation, and nobody's actually taking those jobs because unemployment rate is still continuing to go up. And yeah, they don't really count people that do their own thing. So explain that one to me. And considering that the dollar is still extremely high and holding well, and that oil is extremely high and holding well. But there is a great tax plan for EVs that came out, and it was talked about with Biden today to move us to a more eco-friendly environment, which is great and all, but that takes time. That is not something that can be done overnight. Yes, tax credit, but you still need demand. You still need people to be able to purchase those vehicles. And this is something that is very scary, is the fact that you have people that are currently buying well overpriced items, houses, cars, those particular items that are very life-changing items, if you will, for lack of a better term at the moment. But with those particular items, people are purchasing them and finding people are having to sell back. The banks are having to take those back shortly after because of the fact that they can't pay their loan. People are losing jobs, they can't pay their loan. Now, with that all being said, credit card debt is going through the roof. The growth on credit cards is absolutely absurd. 38%, right? Started with American Express, going to Visa, right? It's growing at a rapid pace, and the CEOs are even concerned about the pace in which it's growing. Amazon is its own animal. It's in multiple different markets. So even though it can be hit by one, it can still pick it up through another avenue at this point. With all that being said, and who knows, right? And they have used section in Amazon. Maybe people are buying more used, so you'd really have to break down the sheets to understand what's going on there. I am more higher level in charts. I go off of events because I'm a lot of intraday and swings, and my swings aren't very long. Typically, normally there's a couple days and then I'm out. I don't swing stuff for longer periods of time. It really just depends. Sometimes I have swung for a couple of weeks, but it really just depends. I haven't done any of that kind of stuff lately just because it's not the market to be doing that. But with all that being said, there's still there's a lot of concern here. I mean, to think that everything is just a-okay and we're going to go back to all-time highs is absurd. But the fact that we're hitting estimates, and that's what the market likes. But nonetheless, we have to also understand that even though we just had Powell, we just had the rate raise, you don't have the Fed for about another 2 months, because we don't have them next month. So we're going to skip a month before we get them again. And so the market may take that as a sign of relief and try to gain some margin before the next Fed meeting, because the Fed essentially it's whatever flies. If they feel it's necessary, they'll throw in a 100-point basis move if it's necessary. So again, the core is going to be extremely, extremely important, because again, if it's over 9.1 with headline inflation, that is going to drive another big increase, a 75-point base. Okay, maybe it's not 100, but a 75-point basis is a lot. If you're going to go, you've already gone back to back, which is very historic, and then you're going to go, you're going to do that triple time. That's telling you something, right? The more they keep doing this, Q3 is going to be terrible. So all these companies that are already showing massive cracks, your Teslas, even Apple has lost some revenue, right? Like they've been losing a lot of revenue on different items. But even Apple has been trying to expand into other markets as well, so that does help to some extent. But you definitely, there is still a very much a black cloud, right? You can say it's priced in. This stuff is not priced in. I've been doing this forever, and there have been multiple times people told me it's priced in. To some extent, it is priced in, but you have to also understand that there is a bigger concern here. There's bigger cracks than have been there before, and you're dealing with the fact that everybody's riding on credit cards. The fact that we got another 75-point basis move. You're not going to know that effect until after Q3, how much that has affected the markets. And in between that Q3, you got another potential rate raise at the end of Q3. So you have to keep that in mind. Right, you don't see the impact of the stuff that's happening right now, and that's what the kind of market kind of gauges these windows. Okay, well, we have 75-point basis, so I have that zone marked out. We talked about that, which is roughly around here. So the market hovered around that 38.94. We hit that 75, so that's priced in, right? If it was 100, we would have been down at 36.36, but we didn't, and so that's a positive thing. Now we have essentially this 2-month gap where there's not going to be any Fed. Not to say that they can't come in with an emergency rate raise, right? If the next report comes out at 10, headline inflation comes out at 10, maybe they will. We don't know. Everything they're doing right now is very historic, and this is why data matters so much. But you need something more, right? Like I think the market needs something more to really drive it down further. I was talking about that, that 36. Like you really need some sort of a bigger catalyst, I think, to break that level, because that is a very strong support. And this bounce, you have to remember, we hit a strong support. You're going to get a nice bounce. Now, is this just a nice bounce and we go back down? Potentially, we don't know. We are in earnings mode. We're in an earnings mode cycle. That helps to an extent. But now that Apple and Amazon have reported they did good, maybe we run into next week, right? We're at that point. We're at that critical point I've been talking about. If we can open up tomorrow above the 40.60, we could have a monster ripper tomorrow up to the 41.90 tomorrow on the general index. It's a strong potential possibility, right? Like you have to learn to flip quick. And right now, if we can open up at that level, because I thought we would have got rejected hard off this and sell. I mean, we can open up tomorrow and this thing would gap down and then start selling again. That's one thing you need to keep in mind. We did try to potentially hit this, then we did push back pretty heavy, and then now we're pushing again. Again, if we do open up below this, that just says, the market's great. We got our little run in. That's what we're going to get. Or if we open above, I think we could have a massive monster ripper day tomorrow. Just because of the momentum that it's currently going. Again, the market, it's not going to always make sense. In my mind, again, that black cloud is still there. But right now, that's not what I'm seeing. Right now, the market is extremely bullish. It's very strong. And when you see it that strong, right? You adjust and you say, okay, well, we'll just go with the current trend until it dies again. You have to have a very tight risk management in case it does flip, because if it does flip because of recession and all these other, this big black cloud that's hovering over everything, it's going to drop fast. And if you don't know how to set stops, if you don't know how to manage risk, unless you're an investor, then it is what it is. But if you're a day trader or swing trader, you have to realize that you got to keep stuff really tight right now, because you can't just trust this, that it's going to be a reverse. I don't think it's a reversal at all, right? I think whatever rally we get is going to be temporary. So I don't think Bitcoin's going to go fly up to 100K. I don't think that, Bitcoin, I still got resistance at like 26, 27. You still got like 3K you could run and still be okay. And you're going to hit that headboard, and then you're going to be done, right? And so, again, I don't want to sound all bearish and everything. I know we hear tons of that, and I try not to be that because I am a permabull, but things are looking extremely bad. And again, it's really going to weigh heavily on that next report and see what we get from there. We do have the jobs report and stuff, the non-farms next week. It'll be interesting to see what comes of that. That could be a potential catalyst to drop us. But I think, again, for the next couple of days, we have some things that could potentially push us. If they make sense, not really, but that's where the momentum's going. So I'm going to follow the momentum and then see what happens from there. So that's what we got. Again, in the morning is going to matter for SPX. If, again, we do open, which I feel like we're going to, especially with Amazon and Apple pushing, I think this thing could really rip pretty heavy back up. Now, we're going to play this big range here. We very well could until we get the next report. Again, there was nothing nice said about what happened with Powell yesterday. So people are just running off of hopium that it's going to flip. But you just have to be careful. Again, if you're investing, again, that's a different sentiment. As long as you go into each and every position that you take, knowing what your plan is, right? Do you have a plan for long-term investment, or do you have a plan for short-term investment? You should know that before you enter any position, and then take it from there. I've been cash, so I haven't really decided, because I don't know what the market looks like, right? I'm trying to pretend to be the market maker so I could try to understand, well, what does the next 6 months look like? Right now, it looks like pure junk. And to think I'm going to take a long-term position in this, no, DCA possibly, but funds I don't need for the next 5 to 10 years. Aside from that, I'm not ready to take any positions. I'm waiting to see if it confirms and it goes up. There's no positive, in my mind, there's absolutely no positive news that's going to push to continue to rip this thing back up to 100. It could just be purely momentum, and then I'll take day trades, swing trades to capture that. But aside from that, we see what we see when we deal with each and every day. This is why I do daily updates as well, morning and nights. So, being said, that's what I got for SPX. So it needs to make up its mind tomorrow what side it's going to go. Again, if it does rip to the upside, I think we got a lot of potential runway tomorrow for that. Bitcoin, again, is going to follow the market, of course, if it does gap up. So I was talking about, you haven't tested this 20 that's currently sitting at roughly around 25. Again, this is the daily, so you have to understand this thing could break 25. As soon as it breaks 25, you can't say, oh, that's it, we broke. You have to have a next day candle that opens above this, which you should expect to pull back and retest and take off. But again, we haven't tested this at all. We haven't touched this line at all. We've been steering clear of it. And so again, tomorrow could be a very bullish day, like I was saying. Get a nice run up, and then could get rejected and everything just sell back off again, back down, and then we play range until the next report. I don't think the market's going to get too carried away and run. Anything is possible. It can all go to zero. It can all go to all-time highs. But you have to also understand that, again, there is no positive in the markets for this thing to continue to push up just yet. There's just way too much bad information. The dollar needs to come down. If the dollar comes down, if oil comes down, I can see the market really ripping from that point and going all-time highs. Right now, all the indicators are showing me that it's just not going to happen, not anytime soon. Those things need to come down. Again, inflation is going to be driven up. tapping into oil reserves. It's the only reason why oil is up so high or coming down. Your oil is still sitting at $97 a barrel. So, and your dollar, again, sitting at 106. It hasn't changed. It's been rock solid and consolidating. Is that waiting for the next big move up or the big move down? That's what I'm waiting for. That's my confirmation. If I don't see that, I'm not going to be taking massive positions because I think we're going back to all-time highs. It needs to show me before I do that. Now, Tesla's in a nice spot. Technical-wise, as long as it holds above this 229 or 829, could be really nice. We could actually get a rip here up to tomorrow to 913 potentially. So that's something else I want to be watching and seeing where this goes, especially if we really start ripping. Tesla could be is normally always one of the front runners going into it. So I definitely want to keep this on watch. Again, if it breaks down below this 819, then again, we're going back down. But momentum is up right now. So we're going to write out the momentum for now. Google could be potentially good tomorrow as long as it can stay above the 115. Could get a nice rip up to 119. But this is one I wouldn't really play only because of the fact that ad revenue is one of the ones that have been getting hit really heavy. So I may steer clear of this one. Normally it's a good one that bounces back quickly, but with all the ads, the sentiment of the ad space, I just kind of steer clear of that. Amazon could have a massive day tomorrow. Again, if the market is going to continue to be this way, watch this essentially 125. The market opens up at 125 and can hold 125. This thing can really start ripping back up. I think you get a lot of headroom on that one. So I could potentially be watching that. Let's look at BA for value. This one just been rocking back and forth. I don't really like what's going on with value too much. We'll take a look at Airbnb. Airbnb could be a strong potential as long as it could open up above here and hold above essentially the 109 tomorrow. This thing could get a nice rip up to 124. That might be one of my top watches tomorrow. If the market reverses, everything might start ripping up. So I might watch Airbnb tomorrow. Could be a really good rock solid one there. Coin also, if the market wants to start ripping, as long as it can hold above the 61.50 tomorrow, you can at least run up to the 69 before you hit resistance. But if we can break above that, we can really start ripping again. Again, this is all pendant on what Bitcoin does. So if Bitcoin really starts ripping, again, you got about, I think, a couple grand. This thing Bitcoin can push up before it gets rejected. So just kind of watching this move. Again, I think this could be potentially a move. Again, I don't know if we're going to push or not. There's no like really bad news that's different that's going to push us down other than the fact that everything has gone to shit. But aside from that, we see what we see. This is why we don't try to predict too far out, trying to keep it day to day and keep it tight and see what happens. JPM, again, flat. I don't like the fact that a lot of these banks just aren't moving. Goldman Sachs, it needs to break the 333 mark. If it can't, this is the problem. If the banks start to give out, sure, you can get a run out of tech, but everything will eventually give up. It may take a day or two, but everything will give up, especially if the banks are just tumbling and starting to sell off, that everything churns and starts falling too. So we have to see, again, how the banks do from here. And again, you got continued rate raises. It takes a while for those to kick in, and then you're going to start seeing the effect it actually has. So we have to see and play it day by day. But that's pretty much what I got. There's a lot of information. I don't want to make these videos too long because of the fact that, there's just been a ton of information that's been coming out every day. So that's why my videos have been longer than normal. So really, we're just watching continuations tomorrow. I want to keep an eye on Tesla. It's always good to keep an eye on Tesla. I want to watch Amazon tomorrow, watch Apple tomorrow. And then I'm looking at, again, Airbnb, I think would be a good one as well. I didn't play CMG today. It was actually really weird. For some reason, none of the contracts were really lighting up this morning. I couldn't even get a position in it. And then I ended up just I ended up just going with SPX puts, and then that actually flipped because it was at resistance. First attempt got rejected really hard this morning, and then at that point I sold my puts, and then the market just turned quickly and started running. So again, welcome to the recession, and I'll see you guys later.